I moved it to this side of the table. Your map is up there. Scott won't be here.
Yeah, no, that's good. Then I can hear you better.
Okay.
The reason I needed this, I couldn't tell I can't tell the difference in color between,
One of them is, two of them are very subtle.
what?
Two of them are very subtle.
Well, in April, looks like we have 3 Board of Supervisors in a row.
Yeah, it sure does in the print.
And
Yeah,
in
it
March,
does.
see, that's why, looking online, even in February,
Yeah, because it's very slight.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
why,
Okay, and that doesn't help you much.
well, I'll do something else with them maybe. But it is nice, I think I'll keep this handy, it might help me a lot.
I might do another map because that's not printing very well.
Technically, it's pending.
Yeah.
Am I not supposed to put this up yet, or?
Yep, you can do that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, there you are. I was going to ask you. I was going to say,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, John, I know John was after him. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Ridge Avenue, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I read in the paper, police report. There's nothing we can do for zoning, we've already done what we could. Building, he's in compliance, we actually went through it. It's really just criminal police. Right? Just don't like it, and I can understand. Oh my. Well, he kind of tipped the scales now, so he's not at the house. But now who's controlling it? I don't know. I mean, the house, though. I know. So they could just add more people and we can't stop it until. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's unfortunate that, yeah, yeah. It's not much, I mean, he crossed the line when he did what he did, so he should be locked up for a while. That doesn't protect the house. I don't think there's any other siblings or wife or parent or children. I don't know how that works. If he has tenants in that, well, whatever they're called, how we get them out. He's almost gonna have to. Which could take time. And how bad's it gonna get? Right. If the tenants are quiet and just kind of do their thing, they could probably stay there for quite some time. Well, it gets resolved in the courts. Well, there's no one to pay it to, unless he takes proceedings to throw them out.
Howdy, young man. How are you? Hey, I'm okay.
Yeah. Right, right. Yeah, because they'll eventually shut those off. That's right. Good morning. Oh, yeah, good morning. It's dark out.
Good morning.
Hi, John. We have Mr. and Mrs. Burns in the audience and John Bingham. So we have one guest so far.
You ever get that Audi done? No. Not that yet. You're saving that.
Colin, how you doing, buddy? How are you?
You doing rituals with this meeting?
Yeah, I'm in COVID
In the beginning?
isolation mode right now tonight.
In the beginning?
Get to play chairman from a
I don't know
distance.
what- Oh, you mean applause and yes, thank you.
Is this an official advertised meeting?
No, it's not. Public information meeting.
Okay.
We've been putting it out on Nextdoor and it's on the website and Facebook. It's been out there. We've been publishing the maps. We've been trying. We actually had some inquiries too. Two people, Dr. Hughes and I don't know what his first name is, Marks. Joe Marks? Tim, not Tim. It's a police officer. I think it starts with a J, something Marks. And he got copies of the map as well. So I know Mr. Hughes couldn't attend tonight.
So how many people do we have out here right now, Cindy?
So we have Mr. and Mrs. Burns. We have John Bingham. We have Brent Detter. We have Scott Hain and Nick Ebersol, as well as Tom Bennett and Ed Lefevre. So we're probably going to do the online version, I would think, or the PowerPoint version, as opposed to breaking out in groups, because we've already seen the maps except for Mr. Burns, and he was analyzing them early on. So we're just waiting for the PowerPoint. Let me check on that.
worry about turning my phone off.
Forgot it.
Last time I saw the score, it was 12-7. Pittsburgh over Baltimore. Thrice postponed.
Colin, do you have access to the public drive? Oh, okay. Public drive, I don't get access. Start rolling. Yes, please. We'll have the accompanying PowerPoint.
I think the majority in the room have been.
And if you want, actually, if you might come through better unless you can talk over this way. Either way.
Can you hear me online?
Yep.
All right. So the majority of the people in the room and online, I believe, are either part of the committee or aware of the process. So we'll try to keep this part of it brief. Any questions, we can address them as we go as well. So we're here tonight as this group has met a few times, but we're here to have public meeting number 1 to look at the official map process. We've gone through a few iterations of a base map for three areas that we'll discuss a little bit later on.
Hey, Cindy, can we have a little closer to the mic?
Sure, I can move this.
Yeah, just raise it up a little so everybody can hear on Zoom. Or that's
Gotcha.
even better.
We'll try this one.
Perfect.
So we can do introductions if that's needed for those who weren't a part of the meetings. I can start. I am Nick Ebersole with DMA. We have Scott Hain with DMA. And then from there, if we could jump to the steering committee members. Not sure if everyone is here or online, but we want to go around. Is that okay?
Tom Bennett,
Ed LaFever.
Cindy Schweitzer.
John Bingham.
Ann Byrne. Brent Detter.
All right, thank you. So that was this introduction there. A few of the members, again, are on the committee. So briefly, just want to touch base on what is an official map, what does it look like, and a little bit of the process, and then we'll move ahead from there. So an official map is, at its basic, an ordinance that deals with land use, but it also is combined with a map. Oh, sorry, I think actually, did we have Alex Rohrbach from the county? Was he on Zoom?
He was
Yes,
on
I'm
Zoom,
here.
yes.
Okay, and if
Yep, I'm
anybody else
here.
on there would like to introduce themselves at this time, that'll be helpful.
Mike O'Brien and Scott Russell, I believe.
Okay.
And, Linda, the perma.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, did not see them up on the screen, my apologies. So the official map is basically a long-range planning tool, and it's identifying the future goals of East Hempfield Township, and it's also meant to work with and build upon the existing ordinances in place, including subdivision, zoning, and the comprehensive plan. And on this map, there's multiple areas and topics that can be discussed or included through our discussions as the group and with staff. It was deemed appropriate to look at 3 areas, which was parks and open space and trails, stormwater management, and roads transportation options. I can't make the slides change, John, if there's a USB connection maybe.
Yeah, if you, I didn't grab the USB adapter. Let me see if we, otherwise, if it doesn't work, you tell
There
me
you go.
when to change it.
There you go. Little technical issue on our end, just bear with us.
Just change it for him.
Yeah, you mind just changing it, John?
Yep.
All right. So just a brief update then as to the process to date to this evening. We've met as a steering committee 3 times to look at each of the maps. So again, we looked at parks, trails, and open space, roads and transportation, and stormwater management. And we had great input and feedback in all those meetings. We took that and went back and drafted each base map for this meeting tonight. And then we had a meeting to kind of reconvene and regroup and evaluate each map in that condition. So again, these maps are not complete, but they are to the point where everybody felt comfortable to bring it to the public for input and comment. You change that slide, John. So our approach tonight was going to be to have what we call a topical station. We have 3 maps in the room, but with the turnout, we kind of prepared a little bit too, just to go through them individually on the slides as well, instead of having individual conversations and meetings that would kind of hope to spur any input or ideas from the public. So from there, we can jump right in to the first map, which is going to be parks, trails, and open space, which I'll just walk around here so I can see this a little better as well. So on this map, we basically use the existing trail layers that we had from the county. And again, this map is on the screens for those in the room and online, but we use existing data and we showed all the trails that were in place, open space, and then kind of any sidewalks and things that we got from the county actually. So thank you to Alex for that again, to kind of show any gaps. And our goal was to close those gaps, but also identify areas where transportation is needed via a walking path or a trail or something of that nature. So I'll briefly touch on a few of the trail, let's call them connections or proposed trails that we kind of identified through those meetings. And again, this is available for review on your own time as well, as I know it's probably difficult to see for everybody. So some of the gaps that we tried to close basically was trying to bring people kind of along the Good Drive corridor and kind of get them into all the way up to the hospital area with the new construction at State Road. So there are approved trails, we'll call them, to go in on that property. That was one of the areas that we wanted to link to. So we have that shown on the map. There is a Steinman Foundation grant application that is current that has a trail along the Little Conestoga. So we tried to close a few gaps with that trail as well and make a few connections. We had some input from the County Planning Commission. They identified a few corridors that they wanted to see closed, basically linking to some trails in Manheim Township and I believe Lancaster Township, and kind of bring them through to achieve a connection to Good Drive and ultimately the health campus and the hospital. So we have those trails shown. And then some of the other ones that would be new and kind of connections as well would be the trail connection that would be around the Old Tree Drive area. So that trail is looking to connect to the Lime Spring Square trails in the Embassy Drive area. So we show 2 connections there. One of them actually ties in with the stormwater project that we'll see a little later. And then the other one was linked via Old Tree Drive to the roundabout and then along the sidewalk on Knoll Drive. So that'll connect everybody kind of to the Roarstown Road area and Lime Spring Square. And then as we move the other side of the township a little bit, which I look at the area along Stony Battery Road. We do show a trail connection there along Stony Battery, basically from Lynx Avenue along Note Road, along Stony Battery, and then a link to Kaufman and the school district property. So that was a link that we're trying to show and close. And also trying to get users to the Lancaster Junction recreational trail. We're trying to get them from basically that same area in the Kaufman Road all the way to the north to the trailhead. And there's also an extension proposed that we looked at with the county a little bit again, that would be a Church Street by the bridge and along the 283 right-of-way that would link to the parking lot at Lancaster Junction Trail. So that's not all the trails, but those are kind of the key ones that came out of our meetings. There are a few other smaller connections that were discussed in some residential areas and some linking of school districts to some other kind of educational and let's call them like environmental corridors, if you will, with some of the stormwater restoration projects. So we have those on there as well. And again, some of the improvements that we're showing on these maps are on private property. I just wanted to be clear that there's no pending projects or pending discussions. It's more or less there, like we said before, as a long-range planning tool, a negotiation tool, if and when properties transfer and ultimately are developed. Want to make sure that we're being wise in planning for that. And here we can show everybody how to plan and what to expect if and when projects come through on these properties. Are there any questions before we step away from parks, trails, and open space, or any other comments or input? All right, so we'll move to the stormwater management base map. This one, again, is pretty basic and pretty clear. We worked with that same committee to come up with areas that are existing problem areas and areas that perhaps could be in the future. And again, trying to extend some, let's call them stream bank projects from existing ones to kind of continue that trend and kind of capture as much as we can along one body of water. So on this map, we show some proposed projects in the Indian Springs area and along the township-owned golf course, and some other improvements that are either currently underway or that are being looked at in the Aquila Gardens area as well. And then we have extensions of the Swar Run floodplain project. We show basically in there, we're not identifying a specific stormwater BMP on that one. We're just showing it as an area that needs to be addressed or can be in the future. So we basically just run along the floodplain line all the way to the east from the current end of the Swar Run project tied to the Brookside projects. That one basically runs from that property boundary line just west, or sorry, just north of Harrisburg Pike, and now to run all the way down to Roarstown Road is kind of how we showed that one as an improvement to that area. And then also we tried to capture the Steinman Foundation grant project as well and show that area along the Little Conestoga Creek to show that area as another stormwater project that can be implemented down the road. And then what we did over in the kind of southeastern part of East Hempfield is we looked at some existing land that East Hempfield owned and some user groups in that area, and then also how it's tied to residences. So Brubaker Run, there is obviously a restoration project that was completed and recognized and well known there. So the idea was to continue that to the west and to the east. So you'll see that on your maps, and that run will run through, I think it's 2 vacant properties currently, and then ultimately link up to Old Tree Drive again. But then to the east of Roarstown Road, there's a patch there that we show as a proposed improvement area, and that's behind some commercial properties. And then we hit a block of residentially owned properties, and we chose not to show any improvements there as a group at our last meeting, just perhaps because of the difficulty in trying to navigate all those property owners and having something implemented. But ultimately, that doesn't mean there can't be. It's just something that's not being shown currently. And then again, we pick up that floodplain boundary to the east on a township-owned piece of land there. And on this map, we do show the existing and approved projects. I know there was some concern, I believe, about some of the maps that show things as existing. We kind of worded them as existing approved just for purposes of planning. We didn't want to confuse or add anything to show, you know, a trail that we may miss a gap or a link to if we don't show it as existing. We wanted to make sure that we captured everything moving ahead. Any questions on the stormwater base map or any other information that people would like to have added to that? Question back there?
Does that have the Harrisburg?
Correct. Is that the one that would run just west of Centerville Road down to Harrisburg Pike? Is that? Yeah, so we do show that, and that's actually right through here. So yeah, we did address that one. I believe that is underway but not completed, so I'm going to show that, and we did use that same kind of project boundary to capture that. Yep.
Sure. Are there portions of the Little Conestoga on either end of the proposed Steinman Greenway that have been improved, have had reclamation?
I am not aware. Is anybody
I'm-
aware of that?
I'm not aware of any.
At least within East Hempfield, I don't,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I know for sure that the southern end does not. That's a project that's going to be done by Lancaster Township.
Lancaster Township to Maple Grove,
Yes.
Correct.
actually be a little beyond Maple Grove. Goes down to Schoolhouse Road, is the boundary, I believe.
Correct.
And then it's Manor Township. But I know of no projects done in those areas.
Completed projects, yeah, I think that we're in agreement with that.
There's been some work at Conestoga Country Club. I don't think that's quite the same kind of reclamation that they did.
Correct. Yeah, the Conestoga Country Club in Manor Township did some kind of restoration work behind some residences and some kind of rain garden work through their course, if that's what you're referencing. Anything else on stormwater management?
Nick, if you could, for purpose of posterity, if you could touch on the fact that all our stormwater projects are south of 283.
Okay.
And why?
Yeah, I mean, I think all the ones that we proposed are south of 283. Could you expand perhaps the rationale behind that, John?
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, it's all right.
I didn't mean to throw you under the
What-
bus.
what that was.
We're primarily looking at areas and potential projects south of 283 because that's where our MS4 area is.
Oh.
So we're trying to get as much bang for our buck, if I can say that, because all these projects will give us credit towards our MS4 or current or future MS4 permits, but they'll also help with hazard mitigation and flooding in some of the known areas that have problems, as evidenced by the most recent storm in 2018, which we highlighted with the Aquila Gardens project.
Correct, yeah, I mean, I think it probably is true of all of them that there isn't a improvement, let's call it proposed north of 283, everything is south. And to just touch briefly on the Aquila Gardens, there was a few discussions there just to extend a stormwater project through the golf course, but then also link to kind of two previously looked at areas, if you will. One was looked at there along the Nisley Road area, I believe it was, and then there was another one on the sod farm area that was looked at previously. So we tried to link a little bit in there rather than create kind of three individual pieces. We tried to put two of those together to kind of meet the need and try to make it one whole project. And again, part of these maps come into play if grants are sought or if there's discussions. It's kind of a bump in the ranking, if you will, if you have an official map and you've identified a project. It kind of helps you to rank higher on those applications if they can tell that you've obviously put some thought and some effort into that prior to applying. So again, there's a goal in mind with all of these, and we try to meet that need through having the map. With that, we can move on to the road and transportation base map. On this map, again, we had a lot of discussion on this, and we tried to have a few roadway extensions to show, and then also some just kind of general improvements. And we tried to identify areas that are in need now, but also could be in need in the future. And we had a lot of good discussions on that. So I'll try to touch on these briefly, identify them, and try to give you the best reference that we can here. So let's start with the roadway extensions. There's two in the same area, Bennett Drive and Sharon Drive extensions to Good Drive. Those were both identified early on as two that we should look at. And then the Community Way realignment, there was a change to the way Community Way comes out, and it was moved to the south. So we'll see that on the map as well, and that one comes out the Good Drive. Landon Way, there was some discussion there about the intersection of Old Roarstown Road and Harrisburg Pike. So again, we'll come back to Old Harrisburg Pike or Old Roarstown Road on the other improvements table. But we had that discussion and we felt like perhaps it's best to extend Landon Way out opposite of the current Brubaker driveway and have that be a roadway extension to allow proper traffic flow. So we show that as an extension, but we also show that area as an improvement on the map with some other things we'll discuss in a minute. And then again, another extension was Sites Drive, and that was kind of extending that to the existing Orville Road. It's a tough sight line when you come out to Roarstown Road there. So that one was deemed to be extended out the other way. And then again, we'll come back to the improvement that would happen at Roarstown Road along with that extension. And then the Stony Battery Road realignment at Marietta Avenue, that was brought up a few times, and we show that on the map as kind of just a realignment through a piece of property that the township, I believe, I don't know if you've acquired it or if you're on par to acquire that. But that is an improvement there that we're showing that kind of allows the realignment there of Stony Battery at Marietta Avenue. And then a few kind of larger extensions that came out of one of our later meetings was the extension of Yellow Goose Road, basically all the way to the east. And that would come over all the way to what is Old Roarstown Road. So we show that one going through a few properties there. And again, these roads aren't pending. It's just a planning tool to use for the future. Another larger extension was Industry Drive. And that was going to run all the way to Running Pump Road, which is shown over in this area. That was going to be an extension through there. And again, that is shown through private property currently. But and the layout of these roads and things were just kind of looked at briefly as to what's the best layout, but by no means is that a set in stone route. It's just identifying that there needs to be a connection there in the future. And then some extensions from new residential areas. One was Wheatland Vista to Church Street, which is kind of on the west side of Landis Farm. So we show that one. There is some, there's a stream running through there, and I believe some wetlands that occurred on that one property. So we felt it was best to not show it only on one property there because of those restrictions. So I know there was a few discussions about why the line or that road didn't stay on one property, but that was why. So we try to look at that a little bit too, just to show and capture any other property owners there that road needs to be kind of moved a little bit than what the obvious path would be. And then again, residential extension, there's a current project in for the property on the corner of Marietta Avenue and Stony Battery Road. And there is a property owner between Pheasant Drive and the extension or the new road that is being proposed to go along with that Stauffer project. So we show a connection there just to link the two roads through that property. And then we can jump to the roadway improvements, which are a little bit more specific, and they aren't just tied to extensions of existing roads. So one of the bigger improvements that we discussed was Good Drive and kind of the current condition and what the hopes are for the future. And there we added a 5-lane roadway on there with a side path for what we were calling a multi-use kind of function. So that was something that I believe that the county showed on one of their maps as well for that path. So we've included that with the improvement of the 5-lane roadway, and that runs all the way north to south for the full extent of Good Drive in East Hempfield. The next one is the Orville Road and Sites Drive and Roarstown Road area, which we discussed briefly. There again, there's some tough sight lines, and it was deemed there that we're going to do a little bit of work, if possible, with this map to kind of rearrange, but also limit the way traffic flows. It would end up being a right-in only, and it would have the Sites Drive extension for the existing users to come out to Roarstown Road at an easier angle to be able to pull out and such. So that's shown on there. Then the Running Pump Road and Columbia Avenue. Right now, I'm not sure if Carlson Charlie's is still there, but it's right there at that point, if you can imagine that. And basically on that one, it was deemed that should be a right out only onto Columbia Avenue and a right in only from Columbia Avenue, eliminating the left turn eastbound at that point. Another kind of larger idea was the possibility of an interchange creation there at the Running Pump Road and Route 30 area. So that was brought up a few times, and it was looked at, and we felt like it was something, you know, that needs to be shown on the map. It's been identified a few times, so we included that. And again, it's represented on there by a little box, but you know, that doesn't represent the extent of the project. It just shows on the map a little bit better to identify the area there. And then let's come back to the Old Warriorstown Road and Harrisburg Pike. So there was a lot of discussion on that one as well about any future projects that could be happening north of that area and some possible users. And I think ultimately it was deemed through there that we do the extension of Landon Way, which we discussed. And then also there would be a cul-de-sac on the south end of Old Warriorstown Road. And then any users on there would be able to go northbound and then pick up Landon Way extension and come out again. So it wouldn't be a huge inconvenience there, but we thought that was a wise map addition to show. And there was some discussion about McGovernville Road at Harrisburg Pike as well with the right turn lane and kind of an existing condition that's been, I guess, identified and discussed on that one. So we showed that on there as adding a right lane for a right turn. And then Harrisburg Pike was brought up as well, and that would be the extent of Harrisburg Pike from State Road to McGovernville Road, and that was proposed to there to be a 3-lane roadway for the full extent. Again, that's limited to State Road all the way to McGovernville Road. And then the last improvement that we show on this map is the Old Warriorstown Road. There was a bridge there, I believe, and this map does show that there is a connection made there through a bridge construction at the railroad track along Old Warriorstown Road. So again, on this map, we show 2 different colors for the roads. One is state and one is East Hempfield owned. That came up a few times before again, so if anybody noticed that, that's why those are different colors. And also on there are a few private roads that are in East Hempfield that we show in green. Are there any questions or comments or additions to the roadway transportation map?
While we've been sitting here, when you mentioned multimodal use along one, have we considered where we have Amish farms and some Amish retired people accumulating? And should we be looking at providing some kind of lane on roads, maybe through talk with the Amish people themselves, where it would be most useful and help them to safely travel a few of those roads in the Spooky Nook and that area is where most of the farms are located?
I don't believe that we discussed or looked at specifically that way, but that's definitely something that we can kind of look at, you know, and as we go through it. I mean, it's a unique thought that I don't think came up, but I think it's at least wise to investigate that. No, I get you. No, I appreciate that input, and it's something that we can at least look at and see maybe if there's identified or anybody knows of pockets, if there's any options there. But yeah, we did not take that into account when we met and created this map especially.
Was the committee coordinated with the 2040 efforts?
Yeah, so there was a representative, and I think Alex, I see him up there. Yeah, Alex Werbaugh, he is from Lansing County Planning Commission, and he was a part of that committee, and he brought that to each meeting. And we did identify, we tried to link a few of the trails that he had brought in, a few of the stormwater projects were identified on their plans as well. And then, of course, with the roads and things, there was a lot of back and forth there. So we did try our best to include their input, especially Alex's, and Dean was here as well. So we had that component in that steering committee.
And I'd like to also add, the MPO is looking at efforts to do a study for Roarstown Road. And we're going to use the work we've done on the official map to be a key stakeholder in that study to ensure they're looking at everything that we've discussed throughout this process and other projects as well.
And just for your benefit too, since we all seem to be tag teaming on you right now. The other reason what John talked about with that study and the concern is that Roarstown Road is going down the track that the goat path went through in Upper Laycock Township, where it got 5 different studies before it died a horrible death. And what we're trying to do is avoid that because, quite frankly, PennDOT's not going to drop $40 million to improve the Royerstown Road corridor. So what we're going to look to do is use this official map to get them to expand and look at potentially interchange on Running Pump Road and the expansion of Good Drive.
So at this point, we had planned on kind of bringing the whole group back together and just kind of reconvene and look at next steps. So, John, if you don't mind changing the slide, and if it's the schedule slide, we can go through that one briefly. So the idea behind this meeting was to take any public input, any feedback or topics, and add them to each map. So if there is any input, again, we can go over that at the end if there's anything else needed. But the goal was to add anything that would have come out of this meeting, add it to the map, and then bring that back again and just see if any of those changes would invoke any other thoughts or comments. So what happens next? And prior to just going over what the schedule looks like.
Nick, if I may?
Yep.
For the benefit of the steering committee, I did receive an email from David Hughes, and he had some concerns about why we're showing school district properties as open space and parks. And the way I explained it to him was we're showing opportunities and connections to existing parks and open spaces. And his contention was that the school district properties are private, and he's not necessarily correct. They are public properties, however, they do have certain restrictions. But his question to the steering committee, or I should say, his ask or request was that the school district properties be taken off the official map as shown as parks or open space. So I'll pose that question to the steering committee as asked by David Hughes.
Maybe
John, I'll jump in real quick on my end. I told Cindy this earlier today. We have 3 different public entities in our township. We got the Hempfield Recreation Commission, we got the school district, and we got the township. And all 3 of those properties, I would contend, are public properties and are used by the public. The school district right now has club sports from numerous clubs that are utilizing their sports fields. So soccer, where I used to be a coach. My son played baseball on the school district properties at Centerville. We have field hockey. We have a lot of different activities. The soccer club went in with the school district, and they basically redid the quad area right behind the middle school. Those are public use grounds at this point with the school district's blessing. So the school district has opened up these properties to the public. On the flip side, we provide Aher Park to the school district and to the rec center, and they utilize our facilities for their operations. And the school district utilizes the rec center's pool for their high school swim team, which my daughter and son participate in. And the rec center itself also does flag football and opens up some of their grounds to clubs. So all 3 of these locations are used by the public and by each of our 3 entities with one another. We work well with one another, and they really are public grounds used by the public.
And just to add to that, just with some other maps that we've worked on and we looked at as a part of this process, and also I believe with the use of some of the county data, it's not uncommon to show that as well on there as existing space to help plan for a connection of a trail or a walkway. So just in addition to what Mr. Russell said, that seems to be a pretty common approach as well.
Yeah, and for the benefit of the steering committee, his other contention was that if we show it on the map, it gives people the impression that they can come or use the facility at their own will or at their own leisure. And that's not necessarily true for any public property. And I did explain that to him in my email, that even township properties have certain rules and regulations, just like the school district. So yes, they are public properties. They're open to the public for use, but they still may be restricted based on the requirements of the school district or the township or the recreation authority or recreation commission.
That's a good point. Maybe at this time, I think it was mentioned there was another public comment. Is that accurate? There was that one, and was there another one that was
There was
discussed?
an inquiry, but no
Inquiry.
comments, I
Okay.
believe.
Let me check.
Thank you. Yeah.
Understood you're going to have breakout sessions where the public can go around maps and make comments and provide suggestions.
You mean at this meeting? Is that- Yeah,
Right now,
yeah.
yeah, okay.
Did-
Going to do that?
We kind of jumped to the PowerPoint because it was deemed if there was a small turnout, we were going to use the PowerPoint, but there is a part at the end of the meeting that is for public input. If it's specific to each one, we were addressing them as we went. If anybody wants to go back, we will. Did you want to go over them, over each one?
Well, I'd like to point out, I assumed we were going to be able to stand there and point out and say,
That was the intent, yeah. And I think as we internally kind of decided if there was a small turnout, it was best to go with the screens just to avoid, having that downtime. But at the end of the meeting, there is a spot for any and all public comment. But if you'd like to use that now, we can most certainly do that.
well, I'd like to do it. It's your schedule, but I'd like tonight to have an opportunity. I think this, and I think that, and I think the other. Tell me when. And
Let's do it now. Let's start with the roads. Is that
Hey,
good?
can we get microphones on
We have-
people that are
yeah,
offering
we have to
public
do
comment?
microphone. So this is Mr. Burns. I don't know
Yes,
your
I
first
am.
name, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm down in the southeast corner of the township, so I spend a lot of time in this area. And I'm in favor of what you're proposing for Bennett Drive. I think that's the best way for people who are going southbound on Good Drive to get out to Roarstown Road and the interchange. With the realignment of Orville Road, and I'm assuming that in the future you're going to signalize Orville and Good because of your proposal to have southbound traffic on Farmingdale go west on Orville. This realignment of Orville to align with Sites Drive is a good idea. That's going to relieve a lot of pressure, I think, from people who go on Banyan and then Sharon to get out, because that existing Orville Road intersection is very difficult. I'm not in favor of extending Sharon Drive. I don't see any good purpose for running traffic from Good Drive through a residential area to get out to Roarstown Road. You already got two access roads leading to Roarstown. And I'm sure the residents of Sharon Drive would be appalled to see all that traffic. The second thing I noticed tonight was this new road from Industry Drive to Running Pump, which I think is a great idea because that's going to open up that area for industrial, warehouse, et cetera, development, much like the old tree in this area. I don't understand why you don't align this new road with Embassy, because the way you have it right now, people are going to travel from Centerville, they're going to go over Industry, they're going to go east on this new road, and then on Running Pump, they got to make a jag right, jag left to get on to Embassy, which they're going to do to get to Roarstown and to get up to Good. This is going to be a major, if you look at it, this will be a major east-west connector between Centerville and Good Drive. That's going to happen. The rest of them I'm pretty much in favor of. I assume when you're talking about the McGovernville, Harrisburg Pike right turn, that is southbound on McGovernville so that they can go west on Harrisburg. Is that correct? Because you don't define which lane you're going to make a right turn. It just says you're going to have a right turn. Okay, yeah, all right. It's not going to be,
Yeah, I think you kind of put like
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Yep. The rest of them I'm pretty much in favor of. Stormwater management, I think to the extent that you can continue what they did in Lime Springs and flatten out the stream banks and rebuild the floodplain, that's a wonderful idea. I guess you'll have to talk to Stowbro and the people that own the shopping center to get that part of it.
Yeah, that kind of connects in there.
Because this is Wheatland Hills Park, the township owns that, you can do pretty much anything you want in there. This, to the extent that you can extend what the Steinman Foundation is going to do and run this down, if you can run it down through North Lawn and at least do the Hempfield Township side of the creek, that'd be great. There's not much, if you go along that stream bank, there's not really a lot there other than a lot of trees and brush, and you may be able to flatten that out. As to the trails, the thing that came to my mind was, I don't know whether it still exists, but there used to be a roadbed for the Reading-Columbia Railroad that came down and met at Lancaster Junction. And whether you can look at what's east of Lancaster Junction, the Lancaster Junction Trail, to see if that roadbed still exists and whether that can be turned into a trail. Yeah, because the Columbia or Reading-Columbia Railroad came down. That's the one that comes down throh Effort, Akron, Lidditz, and eventually it met up over here at Lancaster Junction, and that was the way that they got into Lancaster City. So there's an old roadbed that comes down from
Manheim.
Yeah, oh yeah, it would have gone Lidditz to Manheim, and then from Manheim down this way, and eventually it went over to Columbia. So there is old right-of-way, but I don't know if it still exists, but it would be worth looking into.
Maybe, yeah, we'll see if that, maybe part of it could be intent, but yeah, definitely look at that as an option.
Okay.
Runs north along the Manheim Auto Auction to the big feed mill complex and then takes off toward
Yeah, I guess
Manheim.
Junction Road.
Yeah,
Yeah,
where it's got its name.
yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. All right, so let's jump to next steps and briefly go over the schedule that was recently revised. The thought, I believe, on that one was to have, I think originally we had scheduled 2 public meetings. I believe the schedule reflects 3. And again, we'll take some of the feedback that we just received and see if it, how we can implement that into these base maps moving forward. John, do you have that slide?
Yeah, I'm making sure I'm bringing up the right one. Oh, you have it on the slide?
There are going to be 2 more public meetings. I believe one is scheduled for next Wednesday. And then there'll be a meeting of the steering committee after that to kind of take all the input and we'll draft a base official map at that time, overlay all these maps onto one and kind of make it look like it needs to and be able to display information properly. And then once we have that, I believe we're going to bring that back to the public for review as a whole, if you will. So we'll have a shot to look at that map and see if any additions are needed or any kind of improvements to the way it displays or anything along that nature. And then again, there will be an official process to adopt this map. It'll be an ordinance process and also kind of the normal review, if you will, by the Planning Commission and by the County Planning Commission. And again, there'll be lots of opportunities through that process for the public to have input on that map. And again, we're looking for more of that kind of specific input that we received this evening as to how to make them better. It's always open to change until we get to that point where the ordinance is written. And again, that'll be a normal process, as you can see there. There's a few extra meetings built in timeline-wise, just to make sure we capture all the public input that we can, and just kind of able to gather all the input through the Planning Commission members, steering committee membership, and also the public. And ultimately, there will be a kind of a hearing that will result in the adoption of the map, we hope, in a good format in the end. So with that, we are running up on time here at the end. So is there anything else to be added? We were going to take public input per the agenda at this time. If there's any more to be added to that, we'll take that now. And again, we're always open to comments throughout the process if you have more time to review the maps at home or on your own time. But with that, is there anything additional to be added? Any questions about the process, the content, what the map's going to look like, or what we've done to date? Yes, sir.
As I live in the area where many of the Amish have taken the farms and have established homesteads and things, I'm trying to envision not bikeways, but cartways in addition to what we have there and how that would work. And of course, I'm biased because it would take some of my front lawn. But also I see a problem as I observe the way buggies travel. They need to make left turns. They need to cross traffic. And I see a lot of danger if they're trying to go from an extreme right designated cartway all the way across, specifically the way they drive on Landisville Road. Now, I think drivers are fairly cautious there. I don't know of any accidents on Landisville Road, and there's good visibility most places. But I'm just intrigued by Mr. Bingham's comments there, and I've been mulling that a bit, so.
Yeah, that's something that we can kind of look at specifically and see if and how we can address that through the map. I think we can put an effort towards that, at least just to speak to that a little bit and look at it and see what areas perhaps, if anything, can be done, or what that would look like, or even look for examples in some other places that have a larger Amish population as well, and see perhaps if anything's been done and how maybe that is best.
There definitely is more cartway traffic north of 283.
Sure. That's fair. Yes, sir.
You also know that there's a lot of Amish out in Hempfield Township, west of Salunga. They use Chickies Road and some other roads out there. So while you're doing this, you might want to try to coordinate with RAFO a little bit to see where is your Amish community, what roads are they using, and where can we tie in so that they have some kind of continuity as they're moving back and forth between the two townships.
And they all want to go to Roots auction every Tuesday.
And I think too, stemming from that last comment, we did take into account a lot of the neighboring municipalities when we looked at these maps. We don't have all the layers turned on these base maps just because it would be too much, but we did look at improvements and trails and parks and some roads and things that exist outside of East Hempfield in order to plan. And we had some help there from the county as well, offering some input with knowledge of some other municipalities. So again, this is an East Hempfield Township project, but connections to trails and roads and things obviously are not limited to just East Hempfield. It does span all your neighboring townships as well. So that was a part that's included, that was included in the approach. Any other input at this time?
I got two administrative comments. First off, I know for official map, we got to bring everything together, but I also think part of our official map should be to also have 3 separate maps too. I think when we bring everything together, it's going to look like spaghetti on the map with all the different colors and everything. So I think it's good to have an overall map, but I do like having 3 separate maps that would support the overall map. So if somebody wants to look at transportation projects, they're not having to navigate trails, sidewalk, and stream improvements too.
Sure thing.
And the second comment I got is another administrative one. We had talked on the trails about taking the trail off of Landisville Railroad, since that's an active railroad. And we talked about showing the trail instead going to Church Street, which you do have. So I'm just asking that we can get that cleaned up and get that off of there, so that we're not showing, sending the mixed message to all of our industries right now. They're actually using that active railroad.
Okay. And that was the full, okay, I remember the Sony battery there.
Yeah, we originally we were showing it the whole Lansville Railroad all the way up to where it tied into the Amtrak and Norfolk Southern line. And we talked about taking that off and instead extending a line, which you show there, to Church Street to connect the Junction Rail Trail to then take it over to Lansville Bridge.
Yep, we'll make that fix. Anything else this evening? If not, thank everybody for your time coming out this evening. Again, we'll have another public meeting and input. And again, you can find all that information on East Hempfield's website. And we'll make the additions and any edits that we received and bring the maps back for any more input and comments. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, next meeting in 10 minutes. Linda, you can join us in the next one if you want.
I have
I'm
something.
teasing. You don't have to. We'll see you.
Oh, yeah, yeah, they're doing great.